Thank you for joining the Panic Room. This show is called A Taxing Situation. This is an account of a young woman named Monique who is the manager of a tax office and is having a panic attack while she is at work. This is definitely a taxing situation for Monique in so many ways. I'll tell you Monique's story through her mind, and here goes. I was working for a small tax preparation company in Manhattan, and I was happy working there. I had recently left working for a larger tax preparation company for 4 years and needed a calmer, less stressful work environment. I'm not sure that my new job was less stressful, but the hours were certainly better, and my pay had increased significantly enough for me to keep my mouth shut. One Saturday afternoon, I'm in the office doing taxes for a nice couple. I'm typing in their information into the computer, and all of a sudden, I have a debilitating panic attack. I feel a huge surge of panic come over me. It was somewhat without warning and very intense, but I somehow managed to maintain eye contact with my customers and didn't skip a beat, although I was exploding on the inside. I felt like I was talking to them outside of myself. My body went right into fight mode, so I could get through this attack and finish their tax return without turning over everything in this office and calling an ambulance. In my distress, I continued to ask my customers the right questions to complete their tax return and zip through it as fast as I could so I could get them out as soon as possible and to run to the restroom to try to calm myself down. Although I did manage to maintain a look of calm during this attack, there was probably some noticeable sweat forming on my forehead, and my normal jovial and bubbly personality was smothered in panic. I was efficient, but if they were not first-time customers, it's possible they may have noticed a change in my normal mood and personality. Typically, to quell any anxieties my customers may have about doing their taxes, I would normally tell my customers funny, interesting, or strange tax stories I've experienced over the years. Like the one about a man, we'll call him Jasper. He had his own independent driving business. He was very charming, and he came to my office to get his taxes done. His tax return was completed without a hitch, and I told him approximately when he would receive his federal and state tax refund. He signed all his paperwork, and we were done. The next morning, I went into the office and checked the computer, first thing as a daily routine to make sure all the tax returns from the night before had been accepted. I see that Jasper's tax return was rejected. This happens sometimes, so I was expecting to find maybe a minor issue that could be fixed and then resubmit the tax return. However, when I looked closely at the reason for the rejection, it said the dependent listed on the tax return is deceased. He claimed his daughter on this tax return. So I was like, deceased? So I started to feel very, very uneasy. This was the first time I had a rejection for a dependent because the dependent was dead. I didn't really know what to think at that moment, but I started going over a lot of what-if scenarios in my mind. One of which was that he may be estranged from his child's mother and daughter and was never told that she died, but claimed her on his tax return as he always did every year. Or he's claiming her without their knowledge, but still doesn't know she died. How am I going to break this news to Jasper if he really doesn't know she's dead? So I sweated it out for a while and kept thinking about how sad and difficult this is to handle. But I have to give an explanation to him for why his tax return was rejected. So I waited until a decent hour to call him because I started work at 8 a.m. So at 10 o'clock, I picked up the office phone with my sweaty palms and pounding heart and called to give Jasper the alarming news. Once he picked up the phone, I carefully told him why the tax return was rejected. I was expecting a moment of silence as the information sunk in, but he didn't skip a beat. He said, "Oh, I thought it would still go through. I was speechless and screaming inside. You thought it would still go through? Are you serious? So I'm thinking to myself, Jasper, in fact, intentionally filed a tax return with his deceased daughter listed as a dependent. He knew all along. I couldn't get right all day. Needless to say, he never came back. But remember, I didn't get a chance to tell my customer any of this story because I was panicking while doing their tax return, front and center. It was a small office and they were right next to me, and I could feel their eyes on me as I struggled to hide my panic. Okay, let's take a short break for some more understanding. A panic attack is an intense feeling of fear and nervousness that often comes on suddenly. The terror the person feels is adrenaline flowing into their bloodstream, which also quickens their heartbeat. Their breathing becomes fast but feels very shallow as the body is attempting to get more oxygen. The experience is so disturbing that it can even spike their blood sugar as well. It's a very physical experience, not just someone getting upset for a moment. There's a big difference. Okay, now back to the tax office. I'm almost positive if I ever had the opportunity to ask that couple again, they would say they didn't detect anything wrong during their office visit. I'm grateful for that though, because I wouldn't have wanted them to witness such an event at my office. After they left, I was in the office alone and I sunk into my seat in despair, worried that my condition would interfere even more than it already had with my ability to maintain employment. I made it through the rest of the day, and on my way home from work that evening, I kept thinking about that experience and hoped this would not be the new norm for me. I doubt customers would feel comfortable allowing their tax returns to be done by a tax preparer bugging out. I mean, tax time is already stressful enough for the public. I am glad I was able to maintain a look of calm during this experience, but I can't guarantee if there is a next time that I will be as successful at covering it up. And this is what scares me. This concludes this episode of A Taxing Situation, and next week we'll explore a new story on the next episode of The Panic Room. Find out what happens when a person suffering with an extreme panic anxiety disorder has challenges going outside of their home for months.